Hello there, it's great to see you all again. It's a shame we can't actually meet in person, but I guess these days things are all done by Zoom. So to begin with, I should introduce myself. My name is Shirali Malik. I'm a staff scientist at Carla Institute of Technology in Germany. I'm also the chair of Cost Action Multicomp, which is part of the Cost Association. So the Cost Association has a number of networking tools, one of which is the short-term site emission, otherwise known as the STSM. And this is the main topic of our video discussion today. So Carla, would you like to introduce yourself, to say who you are and where you're from and what you're doing?
Thanks for the invitation. I am Carla Bittencourt. I work in the University of Mont in Belgium. I work with nanotechnology. Is it okay?
That's okay, yes. And Silvia?
Yes.
Hi, thank you very much for the invitation. My name is Silvia Giordani. I'm a professor of nanomaterials, currently at Dublin City University, and I'm also the head of school of the chemical sciences since November of last year. Okay,
sounds good. So, all of us, including myself, have been on short-term site emissions. So, I guess the first question would be starting with, say, you, Silvia. Where did you travel to, and what was the aim of your STSM?
So I was fortunate enough to be able to travel to New Zealand for my short-term scientific mission.
Excellent.
And spend some time in the lab of Professor Sally Brooker, who is a world expert on magnetic molecules, sorry. So the idea was to do something really to test a new idea, which is quite cross-disciplinary, multidisciplinary, and to try to couple the carbon nanoparticles that we develop in my research group with those magnetically active molecules that Sally developed in her research group. So I was able to travel to the University of Otago and spend some time in the research lab and start this exciting new collaboration. Then this is kind of opened new ideas, of course, and now we're continuing the collaboration, although it's a bit more difficult with the COVID times, but yeah.
Yeah, and while you were over in New Zealand, it was also one of the years that the AMN series was running.
That is.
And you were a keynote speaker then?
I was actually, yes, I coupled the visit to Sally's research lab in Dunedin, which is in the south of New Zealand, with a conference on advanced materials, the AMN, which was in Wellington, in the North Island. And so that was fantastic because, yes, I was a keynote speaker there. And after the conference, I was able to travel from the North Island to the South Island, and that added a bit of an extra excitement for me, because I was able to see both the North and the South Island of New Zealand, which is beautiful, which they're beautiful.
Oh, right. That's good. That yeah, the Cost Association is very keen that people get the added benefit of the networking possibilities. So Carla, you actually went on more than one site, STSM. Couple quite close by, but one a bit further afield. Would you like to say something about those?
I had the opportunity to visit a group in Slovenia, in Ljubljana, in the Joseph Stefan lab. And there we were analyzing some carbon-based nanoparticles. And I enjoyed a lot the stay. It was, I was there for a few weeks, and I learned a lot about X-ray diffraction, also the synthesis of the nanomaterials.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that sounds good. And we were supposed to have another colleague join us, but I think there's some delays, which is inevitable in these times. So I'll say something about the STSM I went on. Because I was also fortunate in that I went to New Zealand. It was actually just last year, so basically the last year of the action and the last chance, as it were. So I went to Steve Moratti's lab, also at the University of Otago. It's only advantage because he's an expert on soft matter, and I'm not. I'm a physical scientist. So it was quite good complementarity. Although I think we frightened his students because they were a bit afraid when they suddenly saw two middle-aged professors putting on their white coats and started to work in the lab. We did notice they all disappeared from the lab when I was busy making an amalgam of sodium metal and potassium metal and mixing them up. It was great fun. So we had a great time actually, and and we even published something out of it. So and also like Silvia, I managed to do a little bit of traveling around and also gave some other lectures at the universities when I was there. Right. So Carla, you were actually the chair of a very successful cost action, and our SDSM manager, who actually you did one of your SDOs, did say perhaps you could share some words of wisdom with us, perhaps about how to go about networking and the importance of networking.
I didn't understand the question.
Oh right, no. Basically, I was wondering if you could say something about cost action and networking, as you've had previous experience in all this.
I think it's the networking that the question you did. It was what I think about the networking inside the cost action.
What would you advise people about how to effectively network, having been the leader of an action and being engaged in network activities?
I think the network is a very important thing inside the cost action, or maybe the most important thing inside. It's especially for a young researcher, is opportunity to meet people, okay, or in not just meet them, but to begin to build their network that can be forever collaboration. Okay.
Oh yes.
Yeah, that is the important. I have in my case, not from this network, but I have collaborators that I have been collaborating for the last 25 years that I met during my postdoc, and since then we are working together.
Oh right, yes.
So I think it's when you are young is the time to make this forever collaboration. That after 10 years, let's say reports on your work papers, they will be almost done, each one in your lab, and you know exactly what the other one will write in a phrase or other. And the student should take this opportunity to meet people, to learn how other labs work.
Yeah.
And I saw that from my, when I was chair, okay, some collaboration begin at that time. I would say even our collaboration.
Oh, that's right, yes, because, yeah.
At that time,
yeah.
Okay. And this is a very important thing that just in a cost project, we have this opportunity.
Yeah. Excellent.
I don't know if I answered your question.
No, that's good. So actually, I can ask a similar question to Silvia, because of course one of the other networking tools the Cost Association has are the training schools. Although a lot of people think, oh, the training schools are just for youngsters, it turns out they're not, because our Silvia said, oh, we've got space on our training school in Romania. Do you want to send your students along? And she said, well, actually, they're a bit busy. Can I go? I said, of course you can. So we'd like to say something about that.
Yes, absolutely. As you said, well, networking, as Carla said, it's really important, in particular when we do research, which is multidisciplinary, cross-disciplinary.
Yes.
We cannot have the knowledge, the tools, the instruments all in one research group. So it's really important to be able to talk to other experts in other disciplines and to be able to visit them and spend time in their labs. I think is fantastic. Yeah, I started collaborating actually with Carla in the last course action. And then, so I think, yes, what Carla says is that during the early, let's say when you're an early stage career, you should really take advantage of these opportunities and then build, your network, and you can, you can start having collaborators in these disciplines that you need for your multidisciplinary projects. And then that can turn into research proposal, publications, and so on. Regarding the training school, yes, I kind of jump on the opportunity to be able to become a student again, because as you know, now I'm a full professor and a head of school. So time to really spend in the lab is limited for me. But during the training school, I joined a group of early stage researchers, and I actually was able to visit and learn about many techniques, many microscopy, spectroscopy techniques at the Polytechnic Institute in Bucharest. And then I thought it was just really nice to be able to have some hands-on experience on new techniques. So that was fantastic. And again, I encourage all the early stage researchers to apply to these tools, to this short training network, to the training schools, because you can learn a lot. You can learn a lot of new things, and you can use them going forward to propose multidisciplinary projects.
Excellent. Yes, so one of the things that Carla touched on was this thinking about the people you get to know in the early stages of your career, the ones that you tend to be in contact with later. Because one of the other networking tools we had with our various network meetings, where we had short talks and posters, and noticed that quite a few of the youngsters were quite encouraged that they could give a short talk and they didn't feel too worried about that. But also with the posters, quite a few times some of the older researchers asked them about their posters, and quite a few SDSMs came out of that, and also some collaborations. So they got to know each other as well as getting to know some of the other people. So coming out of that, have you found yourself coping with these COVID times and networking, and especially how are your students coping with this? Carla?
I didn't understand that question.
Right.
I was thinking about this. Let him say about the training school, that it was in Bucharest first.
That's right. Yes.
Yes, is that I sent my PhD student,
Okay.
and she really loved it, and she had some colleagues. She's from Mexico.
Okay.
She's a Mexican student, so she had other colleagues that were in England, in Manchester, and they were very sad because they didn't join it. They even didn't know about it.
Oh, okay, that's a shame.
They were regretting not coming to Belgium because their colleague were going to this school that she of course loved, the school. And I think she stayed more 1 or 2 days and travel around.
Oh, that's nice. Yes.
Yes.
And actually, can I add? I just remember that during my training school in Bucharest, I got some ideas, some scientific ideas, and so then I discussed with my PhD students in Dublin, and he applied for a short-term mission, and he went back with samples because we needed to analyze our own sample for longer time, and I couldn't do that during the training school. And so he actually availed of the possibility himself to go back to Bucharest and use those quite sophisticated microscopy and spectroscopy instruments. And he was really excited. It was his first experience of this kind in his, I think it was first year PhD. So he was really happy about that.
Well, that's good to hear, because actually that's an important thing, because if as a PI, you then know about these techniques and also know what's involved in them. Well, there's two things. You can then say to your students, oh, there's this technique you could use. Or when you're asking people to measure something for you, because sometimes you think, oh, it must be very easy. And then you try it yourself and realize, well, okay, it's not quite as easy as I thought. And perhaps I should be a little bit more patient in sort of sending the samples. And we can say, well, okay, it took me ages to prepare this sample, but I know that you look after it because it takes you ages to measure them as well.
Yeah.
But,
what was your question again?
Oh, the question was, how has these restrictions, just not being able to meet your fellow scientists person to person, how has that affected you? And also, how has that affected your students in their normal work? Because normally you'd see people and go and do measurements.
Okay, for me, it is not nice. Okay, it was not. I was very affected because I'm used to travel, to meet colleagues, to sit, to discuss. This bring new ideas, but of course, computers, online meeting uh, could give some result, not as good as if I was present.
Yeah.
For my student was much worse
Yes.
because they are beginning. Okay, I have a student that they begin their they just begun and then it was closed. They even didn't have access for 6 months in the lab.
Mhm.
That was not nice. Okay, for them, they will have, this was very bad impact. The ones that were already 1 year and a half work, they could sit and write something, make a report,
Mhm.
but they could not take part in scientific stay, conferences, although of course all online conference I could send, let's say I could pay for them to go, they
Mhm.
were attending. But for the ones beginning was really a shock. Okay,
Yeah.
not good. Um, it's this.
Yes, it's something that people have said that although in some ways it's now easier to say to go to Japan in Korea or Japan because you don't actually have to go there and you just have to realize that it's a different time and stay awake or get up early. But what
Yeah.
people have said they've missed is the networking, sort of meeting in front of a post or meeting for a cup of coffee. And also in the previous interview session with Uwe from Karlsruhe, who's runs a commercial company, who was saying although he's as a maker of equipment, he's done some exhibition work, which he finds very tiring. It's not quite the same because you don't actually meet the people. So,
Yeah.
any comments on that, Silvia?
I suppose we all. I say that I was quite shocked about the easiness, or let's say the time frame that we all adjust to online events, online discussion, online meetings, online everything. And somehow we were able to kind of continue to do research, although it was not the same. I mean, not be able to meet in person does take away quite a lot.
Yeah.
In terms of my research team, I suppose when we had to close the very first, let's say, March last year, when we had the first wave and we closed every labs, then I had to be very creative to give them something to do from home that would still keep them enthusiastic about the research, especially for the, maybe as Carla mentioned, for the first year, the second year PhDs, it was tough to be at home for many months. And so in my idea, I thought that maybe thinking about some calculations. And so
Okay.
I thought, since the student cannot go to the lab, maybe we can do some we can find the time to learn, or he can find the time to learn some new computational chemistry tools. And so that's what he has done. And I try to do the same with the undergrads that could not go in the lab anymore, because we also have final year undergrads that could not go to the lab. So we've been very creative and then again, I try to talk to computational chemists to see if they were interested in helping out.
Right.
I arrange for Zoom meetings with the team. And so we overcome by trying to learn new things during the time at home, as well as writing research reviews. So I think that's kind of the way I approached it, to keep the students and the researcher productive during the downtime from the lab.
Okay.
Now they are back in the lab, but we have social distancing rules. So again, it's not back to normal. We can't meet. We still have to have meetings on Zoom. But finally, we see some light at the end of the tunnel, where maybe we can meet while maintaining distance with the mask outside on campus when it's not raining here in Dublin. And so it's starting to improve. But yes, it has been quite difficult. And also, I should say, not just for the research aspect, for the number of the experiments, and also when you need to order chemicals, there will be delays. I mean, everything has been affected. But also, I suppose, on a well-being kind of way, it has been really hard to keep the enthusiasm and to keep the team enthusiastic. That has been kind of a task. So I think we all did our best, and I'm quite happy that we managed. But wasn't something we were expecting, and we coped to the best we could. Yeah.
Okay. Do you want to add anything to that, Carla?
What? I didn't.
Oh no, so if you wanted to add anything to that, so.
About this. So the only thing that it's difficult, although as Silvia said, we had to adapt very fast. There is a lot of tools that made our life easier, but we have to fight against these wish to be together in the lab, or maybe a paper was accepted. I was always inviting my students for a dinner.
Oh, of course, yes.
Now I cannot do it. I give for them like a paper said, you deserve for the next time, maybe.
Okay.
These are small things that we were doing before without thinking. These small meetings, it's impossible now. And I have the impression it will take a really long, at least here in Belgium.
Okay. Right. So the final question, what would your advice be to future researchers who might face a similar pandemic situation in, say, 10 or 15 years' time?
For me, the first thing will be that was my mistake. Consider that it can be long, because I thought it would be 6-9 weeks maximum. So organize yourself for something that can be 1 year or 2 years. Okay? Just jump in all online tools you can do. You can, there are programs like TeamViewer that you can even control your experiments, train your students on this program, because you have to teach them how to analyze the data, how to collect the data from this new equipment. So it's better to be prepared for something long.
To be prepared, yes.
Yes, because one of my mistakes, I thought it would be much shorter. Yeah, I thought it would be 6 weeks, 9 weeks, but it's long, and that would be for me. And just to forget, take a time, enjoy your house, enjoy your online tools, and write reviews, as Silvia suggested, because it can be long.
Yeah. So Silvia, your advice?
Well, I suppose what I think worked well for my team was that they could explore this time to learn new things. So I think what I always say is that for a younger, let's say for students, PhD, undergraduates, if there is going to be, let's hope not, but if there will be another pandemic again, they are caught again by surprise. Maybe if you think about it earlier as having always a plan B, so already thinking about learning more computation. I mean, in chemistry, I'm thinking about chemistry with artificial intelligence, learning more about data processing, learning more what kind of tools that are out there, learning about specific softwares that you can actually use to analyze your data from home. and you could do some calculation, some small calculation. This is what we have done, and it proved quite successful. So diversify maybe your skills during that time, online, and enroll in some online courses, and there is a number of good online courses. And so change slightly maybe the research according to the tools that you can use from home. So using more what I call artificial intelligence, data analysis, and so on, more in tandem with your experimental results and synthetic, let's say, synthetic and experimental characterization that you will do in the lab, so that then you can combine your theoretical studies that you are doing during the pandemic with your experimental results when you're back in the lab. And that can kind of also give you a rounded research projects where you can look at both aspects, theoretical and practical. So that's something that I've never done before myself, and I was forced to start thinking that way, but it's working. And I think going forward, I will continue this a bit, so that we're not so surprised anymore, and we can continue to do more and more some calculation.
That's certainly good advice, because the advice I've heard is that, of course, you should definitely use technology, because it's quite advanced now. And certainly with the kind of work we're all in, so learning something about coding, say learning Python or something like that.
Yeah.
Advice that would certainly enhance youngsters' skills and also job prospects, and also be quite an interesting thing to do. And as you say, lots of online resources available to help you along with it. And also with some of them, you can actually join up with other people, so you're not just on your own. Right, so we've only got a couple more minutes before we wrap up. So I guess final sort of things. Anything you'd like to say about your experiences with the cost and the networking, both good or bad? Some last words, Carla?
I really enjoy to be part of the cost of this cost action in general. It gave me the opportunity to meet friends, to extend my research. It's very important. During my stay, one thing that I didn't say, during my stay in Slovenia, in Ljubljana, I met a group from the biophysics department, and from these we begin to study about nanothermometers to measure temperature inside cells, and this ended up in a publication. Okay, and if without the cost of cost action, it will be very difficult, this easiness to travel, to meet people. This I like in this one, and of course it is the characteristic of cost actions in general.
Okay.
And I hope I will join other cost action.
You should definitely do so, yes.
Yes.
And Silvia, I think you get the final word.
So yeah, I truly enjoy being part of the Multicomp cost action, and I think the thought that we could meet regularly, let's say every 6 months, we could meet in different, and I like the fact that our chair decided to meet in different places of the different members, and also I was able to visit, let's say, places in Europe that I've never been. And especially, let's say, in the how do they call the countries that
the ITC countries, inclusive target countries.
ITC's countries. And so it was great to be able to combine meeting colleagues, new colleagues, start new collaboration. I developed new collaboration during this course, which led into new publications and new cost actions as well. After this, I joined another cost action invited by members of this cost action. So it's nice. You start and then you develop friends, collaboration, long life friends. You write more grants, papers, and I see it's a really friendly way to start networks. And the fact that we could visit each other's, well, not all of them, but many of the partners and the colleagues in their own settings in their own research institute.
Mhm.
And many of them gave us really nice lab tour as part of the, let's say, the COST meeting we had in their institute. And so we could actually really see and get more first-hand experience on what they do, and then keep that in mind for when we need to, when we're writing proposal, we have ideas, we can think, oh, I know this person that can do that measurement, and I'm gonna just drop him an email, and everybody's very friendly. It's not like writing to somebody you've never met, which
right,
maybe
yes.
is very friendly, but it's somebody that you can say, hey, we met in Ljubljana, we met in, I don't know, in Vilnius, and do you remember me? And I have this idea, would you help? And I find that it's very easy, and so it's a great way to start collaborations. Yeah.
Excellent. So on that very positive note about the cost associations, networking possibilities and abilities, we'll end this interview. So thank you very much, and hope to see you in person at a meeting sometime somewhere soon. Thank you.
Thank you, Ali. Thank you for everything. Thanks.
All right, so I'm now finished recording.
I have a last thing to say.
So you can say anything you like.
A last thing, I was very sad when our final meeting was cancelled.
Well, that's right, yes, because I was looking to sort of being in Trieste, and then of course the Cost Association was very, I know, overly hopeful about the situation. So actually, like a lot of people, I lost money on it. So I was a bit annoyed as well. But anyway, so the final meeting when we had in Slovenia, that worked out okay as a hybrid meeting, because if we had the meeting a week earlier, we could have had more people, because it was like one of these things. As time moved on, more and more things got closed. But at least there was an opportunity where there was. I think there was found out later there were quite a lot of people online. Not only the people giving talks. Also, it did include one of the keynote speakers from the UK who got the time zone wrong. So should have done better anyway. But yeah. So what we'll do is I'll send the tapes to.
Stop recording now.
I'll stop recording. Nice. When I said stop recording, it stops. So we're now just speaking.
It's still recording.
No, this is recording. Or have I said? Okay. Where is it?
I hope Edward will cut the boring part.
You know, like when you watch the movies and then there are like, oh, behind the scenes.
Behind the scenes. Okay, I thought I said stop recording. Okay, I shall stop now.
Ciao, Ed. Ciao, Ed.